Normally, Year of the Mecha would be focusing exclusively on Japanese games since that is where the genre ultimately comes from. But we need to make we need to take the time to really give attention to one particular game that was actually made by the Americans.
Freaking Heavy Gear, dude.
The second. And that's Coolguy.
Hold up.
Now then. Ugh. This was a fucking mess to make sure that I had everything in working order, which I'll definitely regale all of the stories of what I had to do in the day leading up to this. Rest assured, this will be worth it.
Yeah, no, I was listening to a little bit of it before the stream. It sounds like an absolute odyssey, and that more or less scans. I played this game a fair bit when I was back in college. Frickin' a million years ago at this point, right? Mm-hmm. And the reality of the situation is that even when the game was new, it required a whole lot of finagling to get things going. So yeah. I can only imagine how finicky it is now.
Roger.
So we got our opening cutscene playing as you'd expect, and yeah, as the logo said, it was an Activision game. This is back when you could say that the games they put out and their company had some integrity. But I guess as far as the history, especially if anyone watching this is going, what the fuck is a heavy gear? When Activision lost the Battletech license. Yeah, but perfect lead-in, Koji. That's entirely the reason why. Because, Activision were the ones behind MechWarrior 2. That game was kind of a big deal, particularly in the PC space, with with mecha simulations, as it were. That it very much inspired others to try and get in on having their own MechWarrior 2 in a way. The Earth Siege series was a thing.
I lobbied for that one.
Yeah.
I lost that particular argument, though.
Kurish, thanks for the follow. But as you might have realized out of the fact, they only did MechWarrior, they only went as far as doing MechWarrior 2 and its expansions. They lost the license to do any more MechWarrior games because it was that they decided to give it to other companies afterwards. Wait, there was a Heavy Gear TV show? Holy shit.
I remember hearing about it. I vaguely remember watching half of one episode and turning it off because I was so disgusted. I don't remember what I thought about it. I just vaguely remember a roiling feeling of disgust.
I know there was a BattleTech part too, but I think that's mostly because among mech focused tabletop games, BattleTech's the one that still has more recognition.
It's the granddaddy.
Yeah, but following Activision not being able to make any more MechWarrior games, they were like, well, shit, we still want to make more games like it because we know it sells. What do we do?
More robots.
Yeah. Oh, there's this other franchise, Heavy Gear. Let's do that. And this ties in as well to why we're focusing on the sequel and not Heavy Gear 1, is because Heavy Gear 1, It is basically it looks and feels like it's just trying to be a total conversion of MechWarrior 2 into the Heavy Gear universe without doing a full from the ground up redesigning and understanding of how fundamentally different Heavy Gear is in its mecha combat compared to BattleTech.
I mean, even there's a lot of very fundamental differences that you kind of saw in the opening scene.
Yeah.
Where there were tanks and the big stompy robot had to actually jump on the tank and treat the tank as a serious threat. And in the BattleTech universe, yes, okay, an SRM carrier is a big deal because they'll sandpaper you off, but in general, tanks are not considered the superior threat over mechs. It's not the case in the Heavy Gear universe. They are used for different things.
Yeah, gears are in general like they range from like a little below 4 meters in height to as tall as over 6 meters. You know, it's a very different like kind of size range compared to like a lot of battle mechs. Like we don't even need to get into like the Atlas, it's just all like those other monstrosities.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But the reason we're going with Heavy Gear 2 is because, as you might imagine, after the first game, where it very much just felt like they were just trying to, like, modify and force MechWarrior mechanics to fit Heavy Gear, they actually redesigned everything to kind of better fit what the Heavy Gears are. And by extension, whether the developers at Activision were fully aware of the ultimate, like, source of influence, I know DreamPod 9, like the creators of like the tabletop game obviously were because they've said as much, but this is the ultimate simulation of what it would be like to pilot an AT in Armored Trooper VOTOMS.
Yeah,
that's basically what this game is for me and why I love it. And I can say that definitively.
Much better game than
like
Gear 1.
Yeah, and like I can say that definitively even without like having beaten the campaign whatsoever. Because that's just how much fun I have with the with the mechanics that it offers. And yeah, Kyo also like had like a little tidbit related to MechWarrior 2 that Interstate 76 ran on a modified version of that engine as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that game was a big deal, you know? Even though I didn't opt to like play it for this series, obviously, because I have my biases, and I think it's more fun if I focus on the things that, you know, maybe a good number of people might not have heard of to begin with. And like this game absolutely falls into that category. Like the people that know about it obviously know about it and love it. I came to it very late, as you might imagine, because like you hear about PC mech games, like the conversation typically starts and ends with any MechWarrior.
And a lot of people didn't even if they had heard about it, they never actually got to experience it because, like I said, even at the time, it was a very temperamental game.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would crash for basically no reason, and
Yeah.
there were a lot of games during that era that were like that. You know, like one of the more touchable equivalencies that I can give folks is the Quest for Glory series. A lot of people are familiar with that from the Sierra backlog, and every single person who has ever played Quest for Glory games will tell you that QFG4 is the best one, period, hands down. Even the Lorian and Corey Cole will basically say, "Yeah, no, that was pretty much our best work." It's also the hardest one to get working because CPU timings were so out of whack during that era of game making.
Yeah.
That it crashed for no reason. Like they had to go to the point where there was one particular crash that was so ubiquitous they had to put out save games of getting around a specific crash just so people could play the damn game.
Yeah, and it's just thinking of like other games from this time frame on PC that are so temperamental, either during their time or especially after the fact. Reminds me how it was like this. Despite all the hurdles I had to go through getting this to run on multiple machines over the years, it still says a lot that I had more success with this. Whereas the MechWarrior game I was most interested in looking at, MechWarrior 3. I just wrote off as basically being impossible no matter what I tried.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's
get going.
We got us our opening cutscene. This'll give us kind of the short of what all's going on, what we're gonna be doing.
Commander, the mysterious destruction of Peace River has affected us all, economically, politically, and personally. Our investigators have determined the explosion was caused by an antimatter device created and deployed by our old nemesis Earth. We have organized a ceasefire between the Northern and Southern Leagues. And in order to confront this threat from the New Earth Concordant, we have decided to send an elite team of special ops gears through the Tannhauser Gate to investigate the breach and to determine what the Earth forces have on their agenda. The squad has already been formed with some of the best and brightest gear pilots from the North, South, and Badlands. You will lead this team to Caprice, gather the needed information, and bring them home.
Those Earthers dropped the bomb on us. Now we gotta fuck them up.
Man, yeah, like I completely forgotten that you have to set up your own squad here too.
Yeah, got a briefing as well as like, you know, press this play button, and we also get like kind of a voice telling us, you know, like you know, about what we're doing. Then you could also read the briefing.
I'm Morgan, your intelligence officer. Your first mission will take place in the Okavango swamps. Follow the nav points and destroy all structures you encounter. Expect light defense in the form of infantry, turrets, and tanks. Your primary objective is to contact the pilot of this gear. He'll be located in the main compound.
An important thing to note about, like, you know, not just that briefing video, but also like the previous two like FMVs that we saw. Not so much about the content, but the fact of like this game, as you might imagine, you can't buy anywhere on like available digital services. You basically have to resort to abandonware, or like more conveniently these days, some very selfless people went out of their way through put in the blood, sweat, and tears to put together a repack that you could just download and run. You don't need the original disc. You don't need to like even like use like a disc image with like a virtual drive or anything like that. And it runs out the gate mostly fine. I say mostly fine because one of the first things you might notice that is wrong is that none of those like briefing videos or the FMVs will play at all. It will just skip immediately. The reason for that is because the videos in this game run on a really, really old video codec that is still technically within like the various DLL files that exist on like Windows 10 installs today, but is not activated whatsoever. Like, it's not in the registry. So so like the way I had to fix it was to open the command prompt in administrator and redirect it to like syswow64, that folder in Windows, and then like activate the specific DLL file. Apparently another alternate way you could do it is if you just install Heavy Gear 1. Apparently that also activates the codec for whatever reason.
That's weird, because the command line stuff I expected because
yeah.
You know, like it's weird for people to think about this at some point, but you know, Binks, the video production company that you still see in like modern games or whatever, has been around for like 30 years at this point. So yeah. Like Heavy Gear 2 uses much the same stuff, things, technologies that we still use today because everything was around, everything was there, was just there, and Binks has continued to exist. Now, exactly how a, you know, like 25-year-old game manages to activate some of that old technology in Windows today is something I would like to hear explained. But yeah, you know, like whatever, you do you, I suppose, Heavy Gear.
Yeah, all I saw was that was apparently an alternative that was basically suggested for anyone if they felt like they weren't comfortable like trying to interface with a text-only command prompt, which I mean, like, that's also kind of understandable at this point because that's not really. We're well past the days of DOS where that is like a requirement for using a computer in any capacity.
Right.
But we got like our menu for customizing our gear. You know, we got like a whole lot of weapons because I went with like the second heaviest like unit available. We're basically loaded up with all manner of different weapons, like one that's like in our hand, a grenade, can the VB, which is the vibro blade. It's basically just a high frequency blade, you know, if you want to think of it in Metal Gear terms, but also other like back and collar mounted weapons, because again, it's like the weapons and where they're mounted and how they're used, very similar once again to how ATs are designed in VOTOMs. Like they have hard points, but like not to the same degree of like kind of hard points that you can like attach things and customize on like battle mechs in like a Mech Warrior game. But one of the other things that again solidifies that like this is not just a Mech Warrior but faster type deal. They actually did go through the effort of making sure that there were like mechanics and customization that reflected the source material. We got to talk about perks and flaws.
We do.
Which is a really cool concept. Like in addition to like all the sort of weapons and stuff that you can like equip, because this is stuff where you could basically give yourself, you know, like advantages as far as like better armor or electric countermeasures. There's like other things that would like protect like critical weak points of your gear itself. But those add points to the threat level, and each mission that you go to has like a maximum threat level that you cannot exceed. So the way you counteract that, if you really want to be using some perks, you got to add some flaws. Like I guess like a modern way you could think of like equating it to, not so much like in a mecha game, but at least in like in like other games. I feel like Square Enix, with like some of their Final Fantasies or Kingdom Hearts, is like especially fond of this, where they do like the idea of just letting you just like assign a bunch of limitations to what you can do or handicaps, with the idea that you will like get like extra rewards out of it or something like that.
I mean, there's lots of games that let you min max in various ways. Hell, even something like Stellaris, if you want to have like the very strong trait, you're gonna have to go give your race a flaw. It's somehow substantially funnier when you do it in a mecha. In a mecha setup, though, because like the flaw that you selected with defective fire control, you're just going out with a gear that you know is just kind of a piece of garbage and will randomly stop functioning in various ways, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. And that image is deeply funny to me.
Yeah, it is a Mech Saturday. Hi, Arian. I hope you'll definitely appreciate just seeing that I'm able to run this game when like it is so hard otherwise.
During your missions, so listen to what I'm telling you. Your mission here is to eliminate the Gorel compound in this swamp and rendezvous with Lieutenant Callisto. Good luck.
Really cool first mission as far as just like, you know, like the aesthetics and atmosphere of it all.
Yeah, it's really a shame that this game is such a pain to get moving, because like for a I never remember exactly when this game came out. I'm gonna look up its release date real quick.
1999 was the year. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. For a '99 game, this still looks great.
Yeah, and this was after they made the conscious decision, especially after making stuff on the MechWarrior 2 engine, that we were like, yeah, we can't keep sticking around with software mode, even though we want to sell to people who might not be able to afford graphics cards. We need hardware acceleration for this, and that was the right call.
It was the right call. It just still looks fantastic. Like almost 25 years later, 24 years later, really, but it still looks so good.
Yeah. Showing off the external view that you can manually activate at any point, just to give us a good idea of like, you know, what all you could do when moving this gear around. Because as you saw, like, you can go from kneeling to prone and back. That affects your movement. You like move backward and forward, as well as like turn, which the turning aspect combined as well with like the torso independent movement is basically like the sole link between this and like the MechWarrior type games.
Right.
But you also have strafing that you can do. And once we get to like space combat in particular, there's then a roll function, because oh yeah, there's space combat in this.
You gotta show them the other thing that they were showing off in the FMV. You gotta do it, man.
Yep. SMS, secondary movement system.
Fucking rollerblading mecha, buddy. Rollerblading mecha.
Roller dashing, so good. This is primarily first person is the idea. It's just that because of the simulator mindset and how like there's a billion like controls that you can bind to like key inputs to, you also get the option of just turning on like the external view if you really want to get a look at exactly how your heavy gear animates when you're doing all this shit.
Let's be real. It's mostly for screenshots and showing off. Shadows of the Empire had an entire cinematic camera around this time that did something similar.
Totally. But anyway, as far as like the HUD, there's a compass readout at the top. We have like that big circle in the bottom left, which is our radar, which we can toggle between two types. It is currently on passive, but we can turn on active, which basically blinks and shows a better sense of like what the topography is, and actually will automatically highlight friendly and enemy targets. But we usually want it on passive because, as bizarre as it always ends up feeling when you describe it, considering that these are big stompy robots, this is also kind of a stealth game. kind of.
The big badasses especially for static combat in the heavy gear universe are still tanks. Gears are supposed to be fast reactive and very very force in the right quantity and spot sort of situation. It's not a big bruiser. Even the heaviest gears and biggest gears, like they don't have the dominate the entire battlefield profile of something like the Atlas.
I just had to do that.
Pew.
Just let them. They allowed them to just jib like that, even though like this was a T-rated game, but it's whatever. But as you can see, because of like the stealth nature, because of the stealth nature of the game, there's that stealth meter. It has that tick, which the position of that tick changes depending on whether you're kneeling and proning, and modified on top of that when you turn on active radar, because that's basically like just like activating it is also putting you on radar as well for everyone else.
Yeah, the way like. This era of games always made a very big difference between passive and active radar. And just to be clear, radar works by tossing out a very high frequency noise that it then bounces off stuff and comes back to you. It's basically echolocation, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a similar thing actually happens if you play Metal Gear Solid 3, where you actually do have like a radar, but it makes like it's more sound-based because it makes like an audible ping that if you are close enough to like an enemy that's around the corner, they will actually notice that.
Right, and then there you go. And then basically passive radar is simply keeping your ears open. Like you're not sending out anything any sound waves, but you're listening for anything else that might be pinging around. So like obviously, passive radar is going to be a lot more stealthy.
But obviously, if you're in a situation where combat's the only option, definitely turn that thing on because it helps.
Yeah, and one of the crazy things about this particular game. Yeah, sure, whatever, man. One of the crazy things about these kinds of games is just like whenever you get into a real furball, remembering to turn on that damn thing.
Yeah.
The next nav point has been set. Proceed when ready, Commander.
The weapon switching in this is also quite interesting because of the fact that it is a mix of, weapons that are attached to hard points on your heavy gear itself, but you also have handheld weapons. So, like, the button I'm pressing, like, I have, like, the LLC, which is, like, that thin laser that was able to just explode the first dude into a bunch of giblets. And, like, I can press a button that cycles through all of, like, my handheld ones, which include, the vibroblade, and if I just want to be ballsy and punch a mother fucker.
Yeah.
But then you also have the ability to then switch off from using your handheld weapons to the other things that are attached to hard points, like our assault cannon and our medium and heavy rockets. The rockets especially do operate on a cooldown that you don't really get like an on-screen indicator of like, you know, like after you fire the first salvo, like when will they be reloaded and you can do it again. So usually the way I use them both is that I just cycle, like I shoot off one salvo from a weapon and then immediately go to the other, just so I'm still keeping up some offensive pressure.
Guard posts. Waste your time. I've always loved the light laser cannon in this particular game, game because it sounds like like an error message, and then something blows up.
Yeah.
All right.
Good work, Commander.
You can also throw grenades, which are independent of like your handheld weapons. Yeah, even before Halo, this game actually had like an offhand grenade button.
Grenades in this game, like they are not to be messed around with either.
Yeah.
Like those are, they are appropriately upsized infantry explosives. By which I mean they're more or less a double stacked breaching charge. They're great.
Mm-hmm. That gear over there thinks he's being clever.
He ain't.
Good eye.
Even your CO, like, like actually compliments for you for it. Yeah, and as you might imagine, you definitely got to be like moving your torso everywhere you can, just so you can keep like a good eye on your target and you land your shots. Robots hiding underwater is clever. Yeah, I mean that's absolutely shit that would happen in VOTOMs. I mean they're small enough that like, given the right terrain, they'll absolutely do that sort of thing. Well, yeah, I guess last thing as well I should mention as far as like the torso twist thing, which is like, you know, it's a torso twist. It's what you expect. You have like those brackets in the center, which are a handy guide to let you know that that's where your leg spacing position is. So you'll always know that like that's the direction that you will walk or like rollerblade if you hold forward. But what's more interesting is like has to do with like the controls I'm using for this, which is I'm using a keyboard for the most part, but instead of a mouse for like the aiming and other functions, I'm actually using an old ass like flight stick, the Logitech Attack 3 it's called, that I've had for ages. And the neat thing is that, you know, this game is actually like, it is really good about being able to like recognize when you have like additional like controllers that have, you know, like actual like axes applied to them, like a joystick or triggers or things like that, stuff that has analog to it. And with this, when you decide to assign like your torso's X and Y movements to the joystick, this is me holding it in all the way to the right. Here's what happens when I just let go. It actually goes back to the bounding box that is indicated by the brackets. It doesn't go all the way back to dead center, but like, this is cool, and I especially appreciate it considering how much I've been going back through, like, old Resident Evils, like Original 4 and 5, and just how the right stick camera operates in this exact same manner.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, this is, like, this to me is, like, when I realized it did this, I was like, yes, I am doing this. This checks all the boxes in my brain for controls that feel mecha-like.
This is Callisto. You have done well taking care of my men. Allow me to assist you with the last of them.
Now, hopefully, this is where I will not die, because we have one final enemy, the deadliest of all, a tank.
Yeah.
This is why I picked the second, the gear that had like the second biggest defense pool.
There's more than just the tank, obviously, but oh, buddy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Talon leader, I've lost your uplink. Talon leader, do you read me? I heard you were the best, Commander. I guess I heard wrong.
Well,
speed is your big defense there. You got to go rollerblading like crazy.
So we'll do that again, and this time go through things a lot faster, because obviously a lot of that was just me like taking my time and kind of explaining a lot of the controls, because like this game does have tutorial missions, of which there are plenty, and they are and they do cover quite a lot. But I at least hope that I will not get stuck on this for too long, because I want to get as far as like the first mission where we actually have space combat, because that'll be like the kind of perfect thing to kind of show. Well, even then, if we don't make it, I can at least load up one of the simulator like training levels where they do kind of let you practice what that is, because it is, again, like for a 90s mecha PC simulation, the fact that they went the extra mile to include that is wild to me.
Yep. Yeah, it shouldn't be that big of a deal as long as you're SMSing around real good.
Your armor's been weakened, so be careful.
Yeah, just the biggest issue I find with that particular encounter actually is just the fact that they are on like that last camp with its there he is. Had to turn on active radar for a moment.
Friggin' ballsy infantry.
Yeah.
Continuing to shoot at you with assault rifles, though.
Yeah, but it's like, because that last camp is sort of on a plateau, it's like you don't have like the height advantage to be able to like see where the tank is immediately. So you kind of have to basically just hope for the best when you make your approach, that they don't immediately have you in the crossfire.
I mean, like you saw with active radar, you can absolutely like get an idea of where their formation is, and range helps a lot against tanks in this game. And then obviously speed helps a lot. So like remember the way that I handled this was just give them as wide a berth as possible. And then I more or less treated it like a joust. Like I would come at them from a specific angle. Mm-hmm. I would toss off as many rockets as I could to try to get a good salvo in on them, and then I'd immediately break off and start moving laterally.
Yeah, because it is ultimately like the tank is like the priority target of that. There were like a lot of red dots on the radar, but most of that was just for like the buildings, because you have to destroy them as part of the mission objective.
You have to kill the entire compound. Yeah,
because the dude that comes out in his heavy gear is like a turncoat in that instance. Because we need to, we're on this planet trying to get information on like how the hell did like the fucking Earthers like manage to like drop that bomb on us.
Good eyes, Commander.
Oh yeah, and if you need to, like, always like have like a button handy that like automatically like acquires a target, which I mean, it's not like a lock-on thing. It's just a handy in-universe like indicator of like, this is like the target you care about most. This is where they currently are, because I mean, like this level's pretty dark in terms of lighting as it is. It can be kind of hard to see sometimes, so you gotta use your radar best you can.
From the design of the game, you are moving around a lot. Like you are not always going to have your primary target in your forward arc.
Yeah,
like that happens relatively rarely, as a matter of fact.
This is Callisto. You have done well taking care of my men. Allow me to assist you with the last of them.
All right.
So we know that it's that left bottom one that is the tank. And then we move, and then we move.
Just rockets for days. Oh, fuck.
Talon leader, do you read me?
Ah, shit. Just to speed this along, fuck.
Like, you really do need to move, dude. You were only
well, that's the thing. I was using SMS, but because, like, this is, like, a like a heavier unit, the SMS is just not as fast as it would be. So yeah, I'll
you were
approach
only
that.
at half speed SMS. You were going 35 clicks per hour. You should have been going like 65.
Pretty sure it was fast. Maybe it was because of the water. I think it is.
I think you were caught in the water.
Yeah, terrain does affect it. That's right.
Good luck.
Well, we'll at least give this one more try.
Aha! Yes. Okay. I just confirmed it when you move through the little bit of water there. Yeah. Water halves your speed, which makes sense, and I had forgotten was a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because I had SMS activated, but it just wasn't. Yeah, it's like it was starting well enough at the time, but yeah, I stayed in the water too long, and they kept getting too many hits on me.
Tanks are just absolutely going to beat you in a straight up fight, 100% of the time.
Your armor's been weakened, so be careful.
Yeah, which to be fair, like in VOTOMS and the source material that inspired this universe, it's not that much different for ATs and that. I mean, like even in the VOTOMS universe, they straight up have like an entire.
Oh, do you mind? Frickin'
there it is.
Here.
Yeah, but like even in VOTOMS, like they actually have like anti-AT corps. Like they actually have like platoons of foot soldiers that are trained specifically in how to deal with ATs, which is like those foot soldiers could absolutely use some of their training if they want to be expected to survive longer.
When you train people for that, you also give them the equipment they need to succeed. Those in VOTOMs, they get like grenade launchers and recoilless rifles, things that could actually leave a dent in a PT. Those dudes are just shooting assault rifles at you. It's like, all right, good luck with that.
Yeah, but tanks and other big gun emplacements, obviously very dangerous to an AT.
Gundudium armor. Yeah, ain't nothing like that in here. You've got the ambusher. Oh wait, right. You got one more turret emplacement before you have to deal with the ambusher.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention. Seriously, what are you dudes doing? Just go dive under the water, breathe through a straw, and wait for it to be over.
Yeah.
Good work, Commander. The final objective is the main compound.
That dude was just hiding behind a tree, thinking that I would ignore him.
That's what I would do. Like, I'm sorry, if friggin' homeboy rolls in like that, I'd be hiding behind the tree just praying you go away. It's the only way I get out of that alive.
Yeah, they can't see me. That means I can't see them. That means they're not here.
Good eyes, Commander.
At least when it comes to like combat between heavy gears themselves, it's a bit more manageable and like flexible in that regard, you know?
Yeah, I mean, HG versus HG, like the tactic that you need to have depends on the gears involved. The lighter gear absolutely can take down a heavier gear.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. But you have to treat the heavier gear like you treat a tank, which can be a lot to ask in certain situations because like the tanks are never going to be able to move laterally, and they don't have anything comparable to SMS. The gears absolutely do.
All right. So got 4 targets over there. I'm gonna try like the opposite route this time.
Yep. Cleaning the board, not a bad idea. Okay, enemy turret down.
Oh shit, it's over there.
Yeah, it's threading the needle on you.
Yeah, and like my torso twist also can only go so far.
Yep. almost fucked.
Ah, shit. Oh, thank God, he actually took care of it.
Yeah, I was hoping your ally was gonna take care of it.
Yeah.
Pilot human. It's not often a Terra Novan can single-handedly dispatch an entire unit of
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like it's like the damage model in this game is not as simple as just like the armor meter as you see right there, because armor is armor. If something can actually get through the armor and hit like a critical function of the gear itself, that's gonna cause problems, like impacting the fire control. Was that a random jump? I mean, yeah, you can also jump in this. It's not that practical in a lot of like combat scenarios. It's more for like just you know, traversal if you can afford it. All right, that first mission's out of the way. Finally, we got it on the 3rd try.
Yeah.
The Hades has transported us to the Arctic regions near Terra Nova's northern pole. The CEF outpost is nearby. You must eliminate all opposition in the area. Leave no structure or enemy remaining. Our intel regarding the enemy's fortifications are limited, so exercise extreme caution.
This one should, I think, in theory, be easier, even though I know what comes at the end, which is like, if you thought 1 tank was already an ordeal, try 2.
The tanks at the end of this mission, if I remember correctly, are nowhere near as heavy as the one that they threw at you at the end of the last one. Like your chat was asking about, hey, it looks like it's firing its machine gun at you. That particular tank was a pretty heavy tank that was firing an auto cannon. Like
Yeah.
Imagine, it's much more accurate to say it was an AC-10.
Yeah. Whereas here it's like, yeah, the tanks in this mission at the end of it, they don't hit as hard, and you also have the benefit of like, if you don't destroy all the buildings you're supposed to right away, you can at least use one of them as like a very good piece of cover to just like get to their flanks and like shoot them before kind of retreating. But like this one is at least is kind of nice because starts off slow enough, but the way I definitely like to play this after a certain point, like when you start hearing particular enemy chatter, is that I then like to go from, you know, slow and careful to fuck it, full speed, let's go.
There's always a good question of precisely how you should approach something like that, because the curious thing about the stealth meter is that the game is very fair about, if you do not go over that stealth meter, enemies have a very difficult time figuring out where you are. So you can mess with them at range and weaken them quite a bit, just pinging at them with an LLC or anything else that snipes away.
Command.
If you are prone.
I have a contact. Repeat, I have a contact. Incoming hostile.
All right, time to go.
Lookouts 2 and 3. Draw your position. Set up a blockade. Acknowledge, command.
Get back here, you motherfucker.
Yeah, and this situation though, you got to get going and blow something up.
Yeah, which this definitely makes this a lot more exciting when you compare it to the first mission, because you see a lot more enemies coming up, but most of them you don't need to really hang back and deal with them. You know, you could just roll past them. There's only 3 priority targets after this we need to take care of, followed by a couple of buildings, and that's it.
Hey, dude.
He thought he was playing Titanfall and was gonna jack my fucking heavy gear. Like, what are you doing? I do wish there was at least a more consistent model for this, where it was like, if you did run into a foot soldier, like while you had like SMS activated, that you would just run over them and you hear a squish sound.
Definitely should just squish that boy.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, there's a... I mean, I guess as far as, like, doing, like, things, like, comparisons, because I bring up VOTOMS, there is an Armored Trooper VOTOMS game for the PS2 that actually is, like, a... Oh, there are those tanks. I saw that. Let's get around here. But, like, yeah, there's a PS2 VOTOMS game, which is also really good. And, like, at least with that game, like, it obviously doesn't do anything like squishing them, but like you do run into like a soldier on foot, it does knock them the fuck away, and it's an instant kill.
There's the other tank. I was worried about it.
Yep. Nothing to them.
All right. Yeah. See, much lighter tanks.
Yeah, much lighter tanks. They're not on a plateau, so that like you being on the bottom makes it hard to get visual contact. These buildings are definitely durable.
Yeah, like, do you mind, Mr. Bunker? Like, all you're doing is wasting both of our time.
Yeah, just... More grenades for you.
There you go. I appreciate that the dorks from the blockades that you blew by are still trying to come for you, but they're so slow because they're on foot.
Yeah, it's like what can you do, pal? Like, come on.
They're walking, and boots are made for walking, but they're about to be blown to hell. So you know, there's also that.
Don't ever think of trying to follow me.
You did at least get one rocket on target before you turned his kidneys into nothing.
Yeah. Like so. Much easier than like the first mission. Like that is a... It really is insane just how much of a wall that first mission is, entirely because they put you against one of the toughest tanks in the game.
Yeah, no, it's very much supposed to be a wake up call. It's just like, hey, you know, like you need to use your speed. You cannot stand there. Doom 2016 did something similar wherein the very first couple of encounters explicitly put you up against a bunch of like imps or whatever.
Yeah.
That are not hard if you're moving around, but if you are not moving around much, they will kill you clean and quick. There's just no two ways about it.
Yeah.
Hey, you can get a squad mate on this one too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like our threat level has now increased from 3,000 to 4,000, which means I could now, like, you know, not just stick with, like, the standard Dark Cobra and can use, like, some more specialized versions like the Devastator. Which you can still, if you like, you can, like, further modify these if you so choose. But I think it's fine with this, because, I mean, like, this is the save file that's on my laptop. This isn't what I'm going to be using for, like, when I play through, like, through it on my desktop in my free time. Which, the only reason we're not, like, why my desktop isn't the one that's running the game and streaming it from there is because the window capture is real finicky and just does not want to cooperate with Discord screen share. So that's why we got this complex setup of me hooking up my laptop to my capture card, plugging in my joystick, and all this other crap. You're welcome.
It's silly.
You will move overland to your next objective. We're working in concert with Norlight forces to spring an ambush on the Grell leader, Colonel Proust. Take out Proust's escorts, and Norlight tanks will move in to capture the Colonel. Do not attack Proust's Kodiak or allow him to escape. It's critical we take him alive.
Yep. That's the gist of it.
Sorry, just having the head move that'll look you in the face. Just
look at that amazing late 90s. Holy shit, we got 3D modeling and animation software. What can we do with it?
Amazing 5
Pivot the head of rotation on the x-axis by 40 degrees.
Still looks great, but still.
Oh yeah, the models are great.
It's just quaint somehow.
He is looking pretty proud, yeah. All right.
I'm feeding a SATCOM image into your cockpit. We picked up Proust. He's inbound to your position and will arrive shortly. Your objective is to cut off the entrance to the valley at Nav 1. Remember, Commander, we need Proust alive. Avoid attacking him directly at all costs. Get to Nav 1 as soon as you can. Stay out of sight.
All right, we know what to do. Like, and as far as like what the early levels are all designed to like really teach you about, like if there's one thing this definitely teaches about, it's understanding like target prioritization as far as like not just in the sense that they all have to get blown up and you need to do it in like whatever order is most important. It's more like understanding which targets need to be destroyed and which are kept alive.
Yeah, Haseo, if you kill Proust's entire escort, a cutscene is going to start where some other tanks come in, surround the area, and Proust kneels and goes, "I yield."
Looks like we're the first ones here. You can always count on humans to be late. We'll hold our positions here until they arrive. Patrol the area. Let's see if we can't find anything out there.
Proust has reached the rendezvous point. Our tanks are moving to the cutoff point at Nav 2. Hold your position.
Yep. Oh.
And you can always tell which one is Proust because they told you like 3 times he's
Okay,
piloting the
Proust is in
Kodiak.
the larger gear, the Kodiak. We need him alive, so don't attack him. Take out his escorts. We'll move in and trap Proust. Spring the trap whenever you're ready.
Colonel, it's an ambush. Our escape route's been cut off. What are your orders, sir? Move to that hilltop and take up defensive positions.
Man, that dude got fucked up.
Yeah, that was very here one moment, gone the next.
Yep. So like as like the red name it whatever at the top, that was Proust. So we gotta just kill all the ones that are marked Hunter. Just the way they fall over is like, oh fuck, I'm done.
Getting disassembled like you're a Lego person whose glue stopped working is just never not funny to me.
Yeah, you mentioning Lego, and just the way that goes is like, I would not be surprised they have like like that to me just has like a Lego Island level of energy. If you remember that, or if that's just me.
I was busy listening to Proust because the voice acting in this game is also still just absolutely top notch.
Haseo remembers Lego Island. He knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was distracted by the game because
we surrounded Proust. He took a knee. There's nothing to it.
Yep.
Played all the games on the island, and that was it. Yeah. You ultimately, it doesn't stick with you because you're like, seriously, that's the game. You stick around with, you remember it because of just like the absurd humor, and I'm like, wow, this is the game. Okay, mission 4, and this time we're actually, this one is where it gets a bit more complex.
Commander, we've run satellite sweeps of the entire region, but we haven't come up with anything. The CEF installation must be equipped with infrared masks, or better. We've spotted a skirmish patrol nearby. I'm transferring the images now. Intercept the patrol, and you should be able to tail them to the base. I'll transmit additional information in the field.
Pretty sure this one is the mission that crashed on me so incredibly consistently.
Yeah.
So when I played this.
Yeah. So as the text showed in the briefing, squad mates allowed 3. We are a commander of a squad, and this is what like the rest, like pretty much most of the missions for the rest of the campaign are going to entail. Like this is where like the extra layer of complexity gets added on top of the game, because we got 6 to choose from, and an important thing to note is that they can die in a mission, and if they do die, you know, Fire Emblem rules. That's it.
Yep.
You're not coming back.
You ain't getting another one.
Yeah. And you
Sergeant
can...
Antoine Maillot.
Lieutenant Keiji Kage.
And...
Su Caporal Morgasa Temple.
That's a mouthful of a name, but a very diverse as far as like people that you have, you know, like French, Japanese, and I'm I'm blanking on like where Temple probably could be,
Yeah,
considering the
I
length
don't
of her
remember.
name.
I don't remember where Temple is supposed to be from.
Yeah, but
But,
Wallace,
like,
Vesping, and Sobek are they're the bench warmers for right now.
and you can give them heavier equipment too, because they start out in the standard stuff and their threats is super low.
Yeah, so it's like there can definitely be value in like taking particular squad mates you want, because like the core heavy gear, there are 6 types, and like the type that they select, they are stuck with. That's their loadout. Same for us. Like, we picked Dark Cobra at the beginning, and we can't go to any other dark heavy gear. But we can go with different variations depending on how much the threat level allows us to get away with.
Sergeant Antoine Maillot.
Which I think, at least for this, because I remember with how like this goes as far as the introduction to like the squad and tactical map mechanics, that like I don't really need to like whip out any of like the variations for this.
This map isn't terribly difficult.
Yeah, because like the first half is like, very simple to deal with. Inactive, threat 0. Yeah, like we could fill out that 4th slot, but we're only allowed 3 to start here.
Yep, mission profile only allows 3.
So let's get this underway. Because, man, oh, yeah, just all, like, the squad commands you fucking have. In addition to, like, a tactical map that you could pull up, which is, like, when you see it in action, it literally is just, like, they took the camera, angled it to be top-down, and then just zoomed it far back, and you can move it over the entire mission area.
Yeah,
like, no fog of war or
pretty...
anything. You just see every object that is there.
Forward team is away.
Pretty in-depth.
Mission is a go.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah, this is definitely the one that crashed like crazy on me. I remember the Hades flying overhead like that.
I'm reading a patrol to the north. You should be able to spot them at the end of this canyon.
So the first part about this is it's technically a tailing mission. We're going to find the convoy that is of high importance, but we cannot destroy it yet. We have to follow it to the compound that it's heading towards.
Naturally, it's only like, 50 feet away, and you can find it if you just looked hard enough. But
yeah,
whatever. The game's bending over backwards to make following someone something less than excruciatingly boring.
Yeah, like for what it's worth, because it is a thing that utilizes the stealth aspect of the game. I do appreciate, at the very least, that stealth is based entirely on that meter and not anything that would be otherwise extremely ambiguous by design, like vision cones and line of sight.
Yeah,
it's just like, if it passes that tick on the meter, then like that.
You're
Whoops.
Busted.
Oh well.
Fortunately, at least in this case, you have to be busted for quite a bit before you fail the objective at least.
Yeah. Just because I had time to do it.
I always get a kick out of that, just because most gears look like they're trying to squat down to take a dump when they're in SMS.
Yeah. Man. God, this game is cool. VOTOMS is so cool.
Yep, I love these games. I would absolutely adore it if there was some kind of like proper heavy gear revival, or even VOTOMS revival, because it's in the same general profile. But definitely I don't think that one's in the cards for the next 5 years or so.
At least with VOTOMS, it's like, like I've watched all of like the like the OVAs and extended material that came after the TV show, and it's like they've definitely like hit like a solid endpoint for Kiriko's entire story with that. So it's like I'm not in the need for more, like VOTOMS anime for the most part. At least not any that would like still be like focused on the original characters. But on other parts of the universe, or better yet, another game like it that's like based on it. Fuck yeah, I'd be down for that. Because especially something like this, because I mentioned the PS2 VOTOMS game, but like that one doesn't even have like half the level of like detail in its system mechanics that this does. Like,
No.
the PS2 VOTOMS game doesn't even have space combat, and yet this game was ballsy enough to be like, yeah, we can manage that with 6 degrees of freedom.
No problem. Just a casual 6 degrees. Not a big deal.
Yeah. At least I know that's the mission that comes after this, and I'm so excited to show it for everyone that is watching this, because just with all the stuff I've had to juggle with, like, mechanics on as far as, like, movement, stealth, and now a tactical map.
Yup.
You can see them moving right there. And, like, even our squad mates are now automatically assigned to, like, red and blue fire teams. All that sort of stuff.
They're reasonably competent on their own if you basically just get into a fight and tell and have them assume weapons free. But you set up some real rainbow shit to get going on over here.
Because aside from, like, the tactical map, you also have this, where it's like, at this point you just input, like, if you're good at memorizing what all the things are, especially based on who you have assigned to which, like, slots in your squad, you could 100% just, like, have certain number key combinations memorized exactly for what you need.
The base seems to be a pretty standard CEF setup. They must have a communications array tied into their security systems. If you destroy that first, we'll make the base assault go easier. I've got a heavy microwave signature on the ridge to your west.
Yep.
I've forgotten that you can also tell them like strongest target first or whatever.
Yeah, which
The game calculates that now that I remember looking into this now that I'm remembering it's there, it calculates that based on the threat, and everything goes back to the same threat computation. So it that actually worked quite well.
Mm-hmm. Remember this. Anything else up on this side? No, I think that's.
I mean, there is like it's not going to mark it yet.
Yeah.
Like, there's no fog of war, but it doesn't actually put in installations or anything unless you have reason to be able to see them. Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, but right now, like, I already sent Kage ahead as an example to, like, where the comms array is. Like, I'm obviously not fully equipped to kind of show off all the stuff you can do. I mean, not that I need to give any more specific like information. I mean, look at him go. Fucking green laser of death.
The combat in this game is very it trends very much towards short and nasty. At higher levels, like you'll spend for a frickin' 60 seconds. Oh lordy, 60 seconds just setting up.
The cover's blown, Commander.
Ambush and a shot.
Subtle now. Just take the base.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to miss that thing.
For 15 seconds of just hardcore violence.
Yeah, it's like it is absolutely enjoyable when you break it down to, like, how you have a plan and you execute on it, and, like, even when things start to go wrong, you got to be even faster as far as, like, how to, like, just adjust on the fly.
Yeah, this game always felt so good. Like I remember I did PvP multiplayer with a couple of my roommates. And we would end up like it's very interesting because in PvP multiplayer with all of the specifically how the controls are set up. Two people that are constantly just trying to attack one another. They'll loop around one another and only have like half a second to a single second of there you go of firing opportunity, and it genuinely makes sense to just be like, all right, I'm gonna swing out towards the cover. I'm gonna lose them. I'm gonna come back for a better shot. Like, it's the only game I've ever run into where something like that makes sense, because I mean, otherwise you're going to be moving around each other all day.
So now we just got to blow up this base.
Your teammates will always have that little bit of chatter too, and they are pretty much constantly having a great time.
Oh yeah, I mean, like we are after all an elite group, because like we're not specifically part of the the militaries that are like beholden specifically to like the northern or southern leagues or any of these others. Like we are, like, because of the nature of like, you know, the bomb that got dropped on Peace River,
Finished here.
because of those filthy Earthlings, that you know, like all these other factions that have basically been quarreling on their own, were like, okay, hold on, this is a bigger priority right now. We should hold a ceasefire. So so like the reason why like our squad is like so diverse in terms of like character backgrounds and ethnicities and all that is entirely because it's the northern and southern leagues, and I think the Badlands as well, essentially coming together on a common threat.
You're XCOM, of like in terms of like Soldier Coalition or whatever. You're like
Yeah.
XCOM. There's no other way to put it.
They're definitely, but yeah, like because of the nature of this and being such an elite group, that is like, I mean, with a kind of edgy name because they're called the Black Talons. Like, no shit, they're enjoying this.
Everything is over the top.
Yeah. So it's not too bad.
Here we go.
Commander, there's a small convoy of units attempting to flee the compound. My sensors indicate they may be carrying another antimatter device. They're heading right to you.
Looks like we missed a few of them. They're bugging out.
I know what to do. Overwhelming firepower.
Is that your hand grenade or one of your wingmen's?
That was mine. I thought the throwing arc would reach, but it didn't.
I just saw the bomb go out. I was like, huh.
Let's head back to the ship.
Yeah. Like, that's really good. It's like, I definitely recall when I first played this game and I got to this mission, this was like the moment where like the core of the combat is what clicked, you know? Like
that line right there. They thought this would test us. They don't know who they're dealing with. Crash every single time.
Oh yeah.
Did you just crash? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
That it just does that because of how like this is an old enough game where even though you can set like the resolution for when you're in game, the menus are perpetually at 640 by 480.
No. It's totally fine. I was just going to laugh my ass off if
it crashed right there of all things.
Like 20 years later, I'm not even playing the game. That crash still haunts me. I think I struggled with a crash at that specific spot for a week.
Stand by, Fury. We're showing a power spike directly ahead. We copy. All thrusters are online and we're ready to traverse the gate.
God, I am so glad that I am able to show this off with like the actual FMVs playing, because I would definitely be struggling to kind of remember what all is happening in the story and give like a full recap of what goes on. It does kind of look a bit like Babylon 5 right there. It kind of does.
Yeah, the story itself is as 90s as 90s gets.
100%, yeah. So here we go. As you can see, Kage and Temple are removed because we're only allowed one squad mate for this, but that's fine. Mayo's he's a bro. But let's see what our briefing has to tell us.
We need to seize this gate station and hold it for our return trip. When you reach the station, take out the communications modules and do it fast. If we can destroy all 6 modules before they know we're here, we can get to Caprice unhindered.
Is this one of the space levels? Oh yes, it is, Haseo.
Bet your ass.
This was so like if that last mission that we just went through, when we finally had a squad to work with and, like, devise tactics, if that was the moment where, like, I thought the game, like, clicked, I understood what all made it great on combat, and was like, perfect, awesome, I can just keep doing more of this, they don't need to add anything else. And then these motherfuckers decide to just one-up themselves.
Nah, space.
Ice!
Ice.
All right.
Seriously, you're rolling, but you're triggering the crap out of me. Going into battle with threat profile low. I don't think it matters still, but like that was always something that as a that I just cranked to the red line.
Modules while we're jamming them. They're located near the center of the gate station.
So here we are.
Point to the communications hub.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We can roll, obviously, but like more than that. If I can at least remember. Yeah.
Tales of Moon theme starts playing.
So the important thing to note as well with how it changes your movement is that forward and backwards for like regular moving are now like pitch up and down, which means if you didn't think to bind like your throttle keys at any point, you're gonna have a bad time navigating this. Yeah, but also just the even cooler part, you know, is like, yeah, it's 6 degrees of freedom and all that, but you're also just like, if you align your feet with, like, a surface just right, you can totally stand on it, which means you could get to the underside of a ship, align yourself, and you could walk on it as it's the floor.
Oh,
Which,
yeah,
again, like, you watch VOTOMs in any of the seats where there's space combat, they do that all the time, and the PS2 game, like, or none of the PS2 games that are, like, way worse in quality even do things like that.
The only thing that ticked me off about it was that you couldn't seamlessly walk over a ledge and continue treating it as the floor. Like that's the scene that you just ran into. The only thing I would change about the space combat here, everything else feels really, really good.
It does, yeah. It's like, wow, we really do not get enough, if any, mecha games that are this adventurous with, like, just the specifics of what it would be like, really, to fight with bipedal robots in space.
I mean, the physics model here is complete, is just nowhere near Newtonian. Let me just sum it up that way. I don't care. It's fun.
Like, you do have to worry about the fact that you do maintain momentum when you use your thrusters, so it's like if you are wanting to change direction in space, you do have to, like, ease off on the throttle to, like, bring yourself back down to, like give yourself... Well, no, not even just that. Like, the way I have to do it, basically, is use, hit the toggle that, like, puts your movement in reverse, because then that activates the opposite thrusters.
Right.
So now that we got the communication pods all removed, now we can go and take care of the turrets. If I can get the...
You can figure out where the hell they are, where the hell the station is anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of the frustrating part. It's like trying to get like the throttle to like kind of get to work the way I want it. Oh fuck.
that was your wingman dying, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was.
Well, oh fuck
this is why I was yelling at you about the threat. Just saying.
Yeah, it's just I don't know what it is now about like the throttle, where it's just like fucking not doing what I want it to, because it's forever stuck now at like -1 kilometers per hour.
Awesome. Oh, I gotta walk away for just one second real quick. Anyhow, dog wants it. I'll be back in a moment.
Yeah, nope, no problem. Just slowly working our way over.
The Fury can't take much more of this. The turrets have been destroyed. Nice work with those turrets. That'll neutralize the station's defensive capacity. A group of infantry is firing on the Fury from the station's surface. I'm giving you a nav.
Okay, I guess no. Actually, the throttle is working. Regardless, I am getting boosted. It's just now like the speedometer is bugged for whatever reason.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The receiving mechanisms are still functional. Assuming we make it back here, we should be able to get the gate open pretty quickly.
Walk that scope, dog. When Robokai and I were doing frickin' Super Robot Wars 30, I absolutely loved the scope dog for that reason. It reminded me so much of Heavy Gear.
Yeah, and it's just Kiriko always managing to survive the most impossible of situations.
There it is, Gamora. We should be safe from their orbital defense installations as long as we're broadcasting these civilian passengers.
Yeah, that would, admittedly, as far as showing off the first space mission, not the best I could have done with, but that's just because I've been struggling to get, like, a decent, like, kind of set of keys I'm comfortable with for managing, like, the throttle and thrusters. But as far as the campaign goes, I feel like those first 5 missions are, like, the best demonstration of, like, what the game has to offer for the campaign. Obviously, you know, first mission, kind of a ball buster because of that fucking tank. Everything else is a lot more reasonable as far as, like, what you can manage. And then it just, you know, like, it escalates where it's like, cool, okay, now you got all these, like, objectives that you actually have to pay attention to from, like, your CO and all that. Now you have a squad that you can command with extremely, like, extreme precision. And then you have space combats. And then you have all these other modes as well, besides just the campaign. I mentioned the training, obviously. Like, again, like, if we had somehow, like, if I had gotten stuck way earlier in an embarrassing way, I would have just loaded this up. But, yeah, historical. So this is a thing where, like, these have a bunch of extra missions that are, like, not related to the campaign, but instead are based largely on, like, I believe they are taken from, like, just the core backstory of the Heavy Gear universe, like, stuff that would have been, like, in official, like, guidebook materials and things like that if you were wanting to, like, use those as a reference point to set your own tabletop games. And
It's not super different from like, if you're at West Point or whatever your military academy is of your choice, like they. But like budding commanders go and squad leaders play through scenarios of like this 1,000 times, 1,000 times, just to make sure everybody understands what lessons there are to learn from these old battles.
Yeah, and compared to the campaign where we basically only had like those 6 dark Heavy Gears to choose from, we get a whole lot more to mess around with, you know, like, as you start first with, like, your weight class, essentially. Light, medium, heavy, and assault. Which then leads to, you know, you see Dark Jaguar, Warrior, Mamba, like, the usual stuff. But then a whole bunch of extra shit past that.
Yep.
We still also, like, have, like, our own, like, threat levels that we do have to, have to deal with. So I'm just gonna see. I'm actually gonna try and get thread levels this time as close to like the maximum possible.
You're not even close, dude. Like they're all using lights. Like these things are clearly anticipating you're using at least mediums.
Yeah. So.
And like some pretty heavy hitting mediums at that. 6,000 per gear. Never mind. That's heavy class. For some reason I was acting as though you had 300 or 3,000 budget threat per gear.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's ultimately been long enough since I've done all this stuff.
These are.
This is PC game design of the late 90s.
People largely didn't give a crap about complexity back then. They just provided a whole bunch of stuff and flatly expected that you would roll around and just click on everything until you understood, which is not something you could get away with doing nowadays.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah, it's like individual threats per gear is not anywhere close to that, but obviously I have to pay more attention to the max squad threat.
Yeah, it was close. It was closer to 3,000 per gear because I had forgotten the max threat. Okay, cool, great, yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. So let's at least show one of these off. I cannot guarantee that I will complete them because it's like it has been long enough, especially since I touched any of these missions. Because there's another mode to this that if I'm being honest, I actually spent way more time with than even these historical missions, which will be the last thing we show off afterwards. Not everyone wanted to read the ring-bound manuals. Maybe you don't. I relished reading the manuals for games because it was like, when I was a kid, it was like I would be reading them like after I bought it from the store and just like on the ride home, just like seeing what all the game had to offer.
It was one of the most compelling reads of a lot of those times because I'm sorry, like at least my experience, like frickin' all of the stuff that they had me read in school and stuff that was in the school library, everything was maximum boring.
Yeah.
So
same.
you give me a video game manual that was on a topic that kind of that at least somewhat interested me, and was chock full of like crunchy technical details that were interesting and I could apply, and it was just like, yeah, I enjoy reading this.
Yeah, and it's like, especially for like those big box PC manuals, especially fun because during this time, they would have like all kinds of extra details besides the obvious, like details of this is how you play the game. It's like world details, like Origin games, like with their manuals were always full of that stuff.
Oh, dude, you were expected to document every little semantic of your game. I remember because the one time that expectation was violated when I was playing Siege 1. I was so mad about it that I ended up having to go chase down the support email for Sierra at the time, and
yeah.
Like I exchanged like 5 emails with the support representative, and they ended up having to go ask the fucking devs what the hell they meant. Because there are a few missions in Earthsiege that are like, hey, you need to jam a listening post. Well, how the hell do you jam a listening post?
Mm-hmm.
And like nobody knew, and it turned out that isn't a thing. Like that's something that they wanted to do, but that wasn't actually a thing, and they forgot to take it out of the game briefings.
Oh God, yeah.
Like I thought that there's even like an ECM array that ostensibly can jam a listening post, but they couldn't figure out how to make the ECM and active radar work in a sensible and perception way. So they ended up just making the ECM alert nearby cybrids as though you had active radar on, and scrap the entire jamming idea. The only thing ECMs do in Earthsiege 1 is scramble incoming missiles, which is still a nice niche.
Yeah. That has its value.
Yeah, Haseo, I like not for nothing. I was also like 9 when I was doing this on friggin' AOL. Like AOL dial-up. I'm logging on to get an email from their QA guys.
Dan, I don't care who you are.
Whew.
It's okay, dude.
Yeah.
Get set.
Now that was brilliant.
I'm under attack.
Incoming!
Get set.
Okay, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't need to do anything else, especially with all the damage I've taken. They can handle this just fine.
Yeah, I am having fun. Like, I didn't even know your speedometer could get busted like that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like
all right,
compass,
well,
fire
all of my
control,
failures-
speedometer is all busted. Yeah, just all kinds of things where, yeah, anything that possibly could go wrong will.
Compass is kind of a kick in the ass. Fire control doesn't matter that much because you don't have any guided rockets or anything.
Technically,
like
I do because of this circle. So
right.
it is busted. But hey, I got this big grenade launcher.
Yeah, like you have a heavy grenade launcher, so I'm like, I don't know why you should be worried.
Yeah.
Speedometer, however, is just one of the funniest
Good job.
failures.
Your team will be getting commendations for their bravery. This is a feather in your cap, Commander.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
Defeated the Marauder forces. We did the thing.
Yay.
But that's not what like kept me coming back to this. It's this last option,
Yeah,
instant action, which is like, you know, especially because just for context, you know, because with this game in particular, I was not aware of it back when it was new. I only got into it like 3-4 years ago at this point, where it was like getting it to run on Windows 10 was even more arduous than it was in the past day that I was getting this set up again for the stream. But but as a result, you know, I didn't mess around with like the multiplayer or anything like that, which I know is like a thing that people really got into with this. But this, meanwhile, was like, hey, if you don't want to deal with mission objectives, you just want like raw, heavy gear combat, this is the mode for you.
Shoot enemy robot. Like it was. I remember doing this to blow off steam at the end of multiple bad days at college.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I specifically remember it was my operating systems class, because like they were telling you to implement, you know, features of major operating systems like virtual memory and stuff
Yeah.
and that was hard enough, but I was also paired with this one woman on who was my project partner, and she was one of those very special kind of programmers who, if she perceived that she made a mistake, she would deny up and down that she made a mistake and then quietly fix something, you know, 2 days later, giving you a bullcrap explanation and expecting you to swallow it, right? And it was just like, you're not fooling me, but if you tried to confront her on it, it would be another stupid argument. So during those 3 days, I'd just be like, is she actually gonna fix it again? Is she actually gonna do her job, or am I gonna need to fix all of this stuff? And shooting robots was a huge panacea during that time.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Because nobody gives a crap about how much you document the things on school projects of like that. The professors have like 18 things that 18 projects or whatever that they need to grade, and they're gonna run their test script, and if it works, that's all the further they ask into it. Like, I didn't know if this woman was going to actually do like fix her part of it, or if I was gonna have a failing grade for it because she was too arrogant to work with me.
All finished here.
Who wants some more?
This is obviously kind of a lopsided fight. Yeah, like I did not increase the enemy squad's threat level, but I don't care. This is like, because, yeah, like, sometimes you just want a customizable mode that you can use to just blow off steam and have a good time for for just a few minutes of your day.
The giggling of your various squad mates is honestly half the reason why I would play this. Like Kage and laughing was just one of the silliest damn things.
Yeah. So let's try, maybe a bit better. Maybe a bit different odds.
Going in alone, all right.
Go alone. I mean, because I am going with the Mamba XMG. The highest level variation.
You're still fighting about 2.5 times your threat there, buddy. Like, I don't imagine this is going to go that well.
We'll see. And since this is full combat, we don't need to worry about passive radar. Just, keep track of where everyone is.
Oh, yeah. Everybody knows where you're at. Like, who cares?
You were saying?
I mean...
They are still moving pretty fast, all things considered.
Oh, man, the base plan.
Oh, I stand corrected.
I'm not even going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
Well, whatever.
I did it like seeing that enemy Dark Cheetah face plant was definitely made.
That was worth it. Yeah, just the animations for when you just land a hit that counts as a critical. That's a good one. Wait, is that sound alert not working?
Nah.
Fuck, whatever. Yeah. I mean, at least the other overlay stuff was working properly. I didn't have to worry about that. Yeah, it just gives a reminder every now and then. I should definitely be checking, making sure that all my browser sources aren't bugging out, that I need to refresh them. But I mean, whatever. This went very smoothly, all things considered, given the nature of how hard it is to run this game. And how hard it could be sometimes to make progress in the campaign because of the end of Mission 1. But at least with this, it's I stated at the beginning, this stream series is primarily focused on Japanese games because, that's where the genre comes from, and that's where a lot of the variety and, different types of mecha can be found. But this really does deserve a lot of special attention. At least definitely up there with the Mech Warrior games.
There's so much character. There's so much joy. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's and even if it's at the point where, kind of as I mentioned, even if maybe a lot of the people on the dev team at Activision were not aware of what VOTOMS was or the source inspiration, they at least they still at least did the research on what is heavy gear, what does the gameplay of it require, and made something that was faithful to what it's about, and by extension faithful to its source inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Which is that's something that is a lot easier for me to kind of get into, because I know we know plenty of people that are way big into BattleTech, rightfully so. It's that is a series with a lot of care and attention put into it, and its mechanics and its world backdrop, all of that stuff. But I mean, I'll be first to admit that particular style of mech combat, not my cup of tea. Mm-hmm. I do like it more when there is kind of more interesting movement mechanic in a lateral sense. What the SMS provides compared to just regular, walking movement and things like that. And a whole lot of Japanese games that have the dichotomy between normal movement and boost movement, things like that.
Yepper.
I really wish that we could have gotten another game like this. There technically was another heavy gear game that was being worked on a decade after this, but we don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it. It's a little. It's even worse than you think.
It's worse than you think.
A lot of folks,
and you can't even search for it to play anymore. I think because it was it was basically being made as a online free to play multiplayer garbage thing.
Yeah, usually when I say we don't talk about it, people have a tendency to take that half as a joke because Serious Sam fans will also say something like that about Serious Sam too. It's just it's a real shame that they never followed up from first encounter and second encounter. It's just like, but we don't talk about about the other things. But
yeah, and they're like, but you still talk about BFE, and it's like, yeah, but that's different.
It's before first encounter. It's fine.
It's a prequel.
It's not a big deal. And but like you can still play Serious Sam 2, and it's not a Serious Sam game, but it's at least playable in its own right. Yeah. All of the Heavy Gears after Heavy Gear 2, just if you spend 15 minutes of your life on it, you have given more of your essence and your soul to that game than it is worth.
Yeah, it's just an absolute
all there
travesty
is
that they thought to bring it back like that.
It's bad. It's just bad.
Yeah, and it's still real unfortunate, obviously, how it's like this game in particular is not in any currently available legal distribution. So it is abandonware, which depending on how you feel about that concept, whether it's like, oh cool, or it still feels weird because it's like I'm not paying for it, but it's like, who cares? It's like, get it, especially now that people have gone to the effort of putting together a repack where you don't even need to find an ISO of the game and mount it to a virtual drive and do a bunch of other random fixes, because for the most part, the repacks that people have put together in the past year or two address most of those things already. And if there are still problems, chances are they're problems that other people have already run into, and they'll be able to give you the solutions for them real fast.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The repacks are a wonderful way to go grab it, and I absolutely encourage people to go look for that.
Now, if only I could find a repack of the same quality for something like MechWarrior 3, just so I could sate my curiosity with that particular game.
I know I never got to play that one either. So
yeah, I always hear people talk about 2 and 4. Well, 4 mercs in particular compared to default MechWarrior 4. But 3 was one where just some of the weird particular things it did, especially on controls. Mostly because I think the way because it was both the leg and torso independent movement, but I think in 3 you also had you could use your mouse cursor to actually manually aim the reticule. So it was basically 3 manual control things for aiming and whatnot. 2 + 2 is 4. I don't know where you get 3 from. True, but whatever.
True though.
He's out of line, but he's right.
All right. Just give it a. Sounds like we're good. We're good for today. I should probably go make some food anyway because it is the Easter weekend and I have stuff to get to with my family. So appreciate you having me on, Ark.
Yeah, no problem. And look forward as well, everyone, to next week's where we go back to the PS1 with a weird fucking mecha game. It's the game in question, Remote Control Dandy. Which is that's a very funny kind of fancy name, but when you see it in action, and if you've heard of another game such as that came out on the PS2, you might go, "Oh, that's how they're connected."
All right, now I got it.
Yeah, just it's in the name as far as implying what that's all about. It's a remote control robot with the most delightfully batshit controls imaginable.
I'll definitely be tuning in for that one, I think.
Yep. Kaboom will be back for that because like me, he is way into the weird shit. And that's fun. Yeah, Tetsujin 28, Haseo nailed it on the head. Is like when you see that game, it's I think we will have eventually covered all the possible avenues for mecha games in terms of gameplay styles. And Remote Control Dandy's basically the last of that kind of new styles before the rest of the year will show off a lot of just iterations on those concepts that everyone established in the 90s. But yeah, I won't delay you any further. You can get to your Easter preps. Always fun to have you here.
Take care of that. You take care of yourself, duder.
Yep, as well as everyone else in chat. Have a good rest of your Saturday. Bye.
Game over.